please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? The republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Are we ready for public comments? Public comments are 3 minutes each. Please, I guess it's only people there, so you'll see them. Are they lining up, Roseanne, for public comments? I can't hear you, Roseanne.
Hold on. I have Janie Anderson.
Okay.
Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Janie Anderson, 11th Place and 119th Street. First of all, I want to thank Mario for the incredible amount of backup and detail that is on the agenda tonight for the sanitation contract. I don't recall ever seeing that level of information, and it's much appreciated. Also appreciated that the meetings during the RFP process were Zoomed, and that kind of transparency is one of the things I admire so much about Mario, and continue to believe that he is the right fit for our village at this time. Additionally, is his accessibility and his very thick skin, much appreciated. One of my concerns, though, continues to be communication. So many issues, problems, misinformation would be stopped if we would start amping up our game in terms of communication. That still is a problem. Speaking of communication, transparency, and information, Mac, that was an incredible review. Obviously, you put a lot of thought and effort into it. And the advantage to that level of detail for Mario is he knows what the expectations are. For you, putting it in writing that way, you hold yourself accountable too. And I really appreciate that. Thank you all.
Thank you. Roseanne, I can't hear you.
Let me check if there's someone else, Mayor. Bobby Anderson?
Yeah, Bob Anderson, 11th Place, 119th Street. And on the evaluation of the manager, the only evaluation I saw in the backup for tonight's meeting was from Commissioner Kennedy. And I read it thoroughly, and I really feel he hit the nail on the head of his evaluation of the manager. And I completely agree with his feelings and his evaluation. I wish I would be able to read the other commissioners' evaluation, in the agenda, but I'm sure after the meeting's all over, I'll be able to put in a public records request and I'll be able to read what the other commissioners' evaluations were. Thank you.
Mayor, I don't see anybody else raising their hand to talk.
Okay, I don't see anyone either. Okay. We'll close public comments. Resolution 2021-33. Valerie, would you please read the resolution?
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2021-33, a resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park awarding invitation to bid number 003-2021 to SFM Landscaping Service, LLC, and approving and authorizing the village manager to execute an agreement with SFM Landscape Services, LLC, to provide landscaping services at established rates on an as-needed basis at a cost not to exceed the annual budget allocations for this work, and to do all necessary to effectuate this resolution and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. I'd like to open this up for a discussion with commissioners. Raise your hand if you want to speak, or we'll go. Mario, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, if you allow me. One of the main purposes for putting this contract out to bid was with regards to the Miami-Dade tree grant that we received. Give me one moment. The tree grant requires that we purchase about $30,000 worth of vegetation to be planted throughout the community. That is beyond the spending authority that we are allowed to have within the administration without a procurement. Now, the piggyback that we did last year did not meet the review that both legal and I kind of took a look to see if we can piggyback. So we needed to do our own. I also wanted to include options for us we have budget that allows for removal of trees and invasive species. We didn't have a contract for that either. Stumps, once the trees are removed, grinding that out, planting of new trees, whether they're part of the grant or not. And then what I ended up doing is I put together just a list in case there's an emergency with public works that we don't have the option for them to do some things. At least we have something in a contract that we can piggyback off and use the unit prices to establish the project and the cost. So that's why we put all of these things together within the procurement. We did an invitation to bid, which essentially is a form of solicitation where the lowest bidder wins the contract. There's no evaluation committee, there's no scoring. It's, did you meet the requirements of the solicitation? And if you did, who's the lowest bidder? And so that person, we're recommending the awarding of the contract to SFM Services. They also do plenty of work throughout Miami-Dade and Broward County. They probably have a contract with almost every city within Miami-Dade County, as well as with DOT and the county itself. So they do perform this type of services for everyone. So with that, that is the recommendation for the commission to consider.
Are there any comments from the commissioners? Commissioner Vice Mayor Hammelberg?
No comments.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yeah, I just wanted, I'm hearing a lot of echo. You guys hearing it?
Yeah, somebody has an open mic.
Linda. Anyway, so I asked Mario in regards to the breakdown of the cost of the proposal, right? And I asked him how we knew how much something was going to cost based on those costs and how many employees we were talking about. So I wanted Mario to explain a little bit what we discussed in regards to that and how we're going to manage that from a budget standpoint.
Sure. So with regards to any type of hourly rate, one of the things that we'll end up doing is asking the contractor, this is the work and this is the end result that we're looking for in this area. What is it going to take based on the unit price that you're providing us? What is it going to take to accomplish that goal? And then they'll give us how many people, how many hours it will take, when's their date that they can start and when they can conclude. And everything will be based on the either hourly rate or the tree rate or that unit cost that's dictated in the ITV. Once we have that, just like with any other type of proposal that we request, we would take a look if we deem that, hey, that's too much, that's not what we want, or we think you can cut the corners here because we don't need this person or that supervisor to be here or something like that, then we can reduce the type of hours that we go in. And that's normal practice for any type of proposal that would come in on a contract like this.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Gonzalez?
I had the answer. I just wanted him to explain a little bit to others. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Kennedy?
Yeah, I have just a couple of questions for Mario. So Mario, can you explain, is this going to overlap or replace any of the public works responsibilities?
No, sir, it's not. This is to do various tasks that our public works crews cannot do. Or if we have something that happens after hours that would be too much for our crews to come in, this gives us the tools available to us to accomplish the goals. Tree trimming, for the most part, will be around areas that our crews cannot reach and cannot do. There are some vegetation throughout the village that we do need trimmed back and removed, but every time our public works crews have gone out, even if they wear gloves and a long sleeve shirt, they've come out with either skin burns or a rash or something. So having a contractor who's more equipped to have to do all this type of work is an additional resource that we'll have at our disposal.
And this is on a project by project basis, obviously.
Correct. It's project by project, and that the funding that could be used is determined in the budget within the public works area. It's for landscaping services. I think this year there's 81,000 for tree removal, installation, other type of things that, if I remember correctly, we've only used less than just shy of 2,000. So now we have the tools to actually use the budget that's allocated for the village.
Okay, excellent. That was my next question for you. So can you give us an idea, and obviously you haven't contracted them yet and you haven't given them a job yet, but between now and the end of this fiscal year, which is just 3 months from now, September 30th, can you give us an idea of what you will be specific things that you'll be planning to use them on with that $28,000 more or less that's left in the budget?
So yeah, just for clarification, the budget's 81,000. That's in there. The very first priority, which I've already communicated with them, and I believe the arborist for the company, Mario Cantero, is joining us via Zoom. Their number one priority is to get the trees that we need for the Miami-Dade tree grant. The deadline for the tree grant is the 24th. I've already reached out to the county. They are still trying to close out several contracts and send out new contracts for this year. So they told me, look, no one's going to meet that. But as soon as we're done with these contracts, we'll work on an extension just so that the paperwork is correct. And I said, okay, I'm trying to stay on top. She goes, just move forward, no worries, and we'll work everything out. So that's
you're going to use these guys to buy the trees and get them in the ground?
Correct.
Okay,
yes.
Great.
So that's their number one priority coming in. Their second priority is essentially going, and we have a list of all the Australian pines that we have throughout the village. It's to have their arborists come out, look at those trees that we listed, and identify prioritize them from worst condition to best, and so that we can start systematically removing them appropriately as quickly as possible. Now, these are very large trees, so I'm not sure what kind of time frame it would take, and I'm not an expert in here, so I would assume once they come onto the job site and they're able to take a look at that, then they'll go through and be able to kind of identify and give us all those parameters.
So you expect to get some of those trees down before the end of this fiscal year?
If we can, then the goal is to start that process this fiscal year. Correct?
That would be great, because I know you have money in there that's going to get rolled over into the general fund if we don't spend it by September 30th. So it'd be great if you could get some of those trees down this year. When I say this year, I mean by the end of September, by September 30th. Can you then automatically use them for future tree grants moving forward, or will you have to get them to rebid every time for the county?
So no, this contract will be a 3-year contract with 2 possible 1-year extensions. And we could use this contract for any type of landscaping grant for the next 3 to 5 years.
So so let's assume we do it for the next 3 years, we continue to get that grant. You can just automatically have them slotted in, assuming you're happy with their work. You could use them without removing that responsibility from the village every year. That's great.
Correct.
there's an hourly charge in there for some of the other things that it sounds like you may not use them for on a regular basis, mowing and things. And it's an hourly rate, but it doesn't say hourly per person. I think it's $35 an hour. I don't have it pulled up here for mowing and things like that. Is that $35 an hour per laborer that they send in?
Correct.
Not for a team, because later they talk about a team of people, and I just wanted to make sure that's $35 per person.
So the per hour includes labor and equipment, but it is
Right.
per laborer. It's
Per
not
laborer.
right. It's not,
Okay.
for example, it's not a $50 for straightening trees for 6 people to be there
Understood.
multiple hours.
It's kind of what I assumed. I wanted to make sure because later in their proposal, they have a picture of these crews and teams of people and they kind of specify what you get. And I wanted to make sure we knew what we were getting into. Then my last question is, this is on an as needed basis and you'll use them project for project, which is great because we're not obligated to anything here. We agree to this tonight. You could never use them if you chose not to. But in the detail in their bid, it does say month 1 and month 2, what they will do for us. And it talks about in month 1, especially an initial assessment of the village. Is that what you were just referring to? Because it makes it sound like they're going to come through the village, do an assessment of the whole village. And I wanted to know if you're using them on a project by project basis, why they're already telling us what they'll do month 1 and month 2, as if they're contracted for regular work. And if we're paying for that initial assessment of the village, if that is the case.
Within the RFP, obviously we allow them to tell us with regards to the cycle how that would be working for all the general maintenance if we were to use that. As of right now, some of those things are not going to be used, but they would be able to help us put everything within a cycle. One of the main reasons why we did an hourly rate on some of these things is because we have the public works crew. And it's very easy for us to be able to say, hey, our crew, our 3 or 4 or 5 guys can do all of this. And it essentially costs us X dollars based on their hourly rate, all inclusive. So it gives us something to work on. We also didn't have the time or the staffing to start looking at the different sections of the village. So having them available to help start organizing that aspect of everything and putting everything together is a big help. But no, they wouldn't start assessing all the areas needed for the mowing and that maintenance because we're not activating that right now.
Okay, wonderful. I just wanted to clarify that because it sounds like they're going to get started month 1 with some kind of an assessment. I wanted to make sure that wasn't an automatic part of the agreement and that we wouldn't be paying for that. Those are my questions. Mario, I think this is a great idea. This will be a really helpful thing for you to have at your disposal. So I'm glad you moved forward with this. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Commissioner Samaria?
I agree with Commissioner Kennedy. This is a good idea and I like it. I like that we have them on a basis, job by job, as long as it's not affecting our staff, people that work at Public Works. And you already showed me that it's not. You basically answered all the questions that my concerns that I had, so I appreciate that.
Okay, can we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to award ITB 2003-2021 to T2 SFM Landscaping Services and approve the agreement.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That's carried. Resolution 2021-34. I see that Mr. Dion is with us. Would you like to read the resolution?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Commissioners, I apologize for being late. I left Sunny Isles Beach at 4:45, and it took me that long to get here today. Apparently, there was some police activity on Biscayne and 163rd, so everybody was coming down to Bal Harbor in order to come across. So I apologize for being late. I'm glad Valerie was able to at least take the first item for you. Let me go ahead and read resolution number 2021-34, a resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, relating to the collection and disposal of solid waste within the village for fiscal year 2021, 2022, establishing the estimated assessment rate for solid waste service against the assessed property located within the village of Biscayne Park for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2021 through September 30, 2022, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, providing for public hearing and notice thereof, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, if I may.
I'm sorry?
If I may, to introduce the item.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Mario.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Commission, essentially, this is something that the Commission does every single year to establish the non-ad valorem rates. Now, the non-ad valorem is the taxes that you all pay. Give me 1 second. Thank you. Is the taxes that are paid that are not imposed through the property taxes. They're something in addition, but it's paid to the county on a yearly basis. It's how everybody pays for their solid waste. Now, we want to make sure that we follow the guidelines that are set out by the county. And this is going to be an increased year over 2020, 2021. The, excuse me, currently the non-ad valorem solid waste assessment is for $481 for the current fiscal year, and it would be increasing to by $177.98 for fiscal year 21-22. The overall revenue jumps from $625,000 to $816,625. Overall, the year assessment would be for $659.49. Now, this would have to be also ratified at a later commission meeting. We're looking at July so that we have enough time within the month of July to be able to send everything to the county, who will then send a notice to all property owners to advise them that this is what will happen. And then you'll have a ratification in September when you do the full budget. This will cover the contract that you will potentially be awarding later this meeting, in the next item, as a matter of fact. And this would cover all the costs that are in there. You also see the resolution in the backup. You see the draft notice that was used last year. It's the same, although we've updated the information. And then you will see essentially the updated budget for the department, the revenue that comes in, the expenditures, and then the overall cost sharing that we have from that department. Again, because we're extremely small, we have a lot of people who do multiple things. And so different parts of the budget help pay for everybody's salary. So there's an allocation on there on the administrative side. So that is the request to pass the resolution today for the non-ad valorem assessment for solid waste.
Thank you, Mario. Vice Mayor Hammelberg, do you have any comments?
No, it's something that we need to do in order to be able to collect our garbage fees from the residents. I do understand that the rate has gone up, and I know the rate has gone up because we've been working without a contract, and all services have gone up, as have many of the costs that we've personally had to endure since COVID. So I think we need to do it.
Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez? Commissioner,
No,
okay,
sorry.
it's
I
okay.
hear that echo again. So this is basically $180 additional a year, right? For every resident in Biscayne Park.
Correct.
No, not every resident.
Not every resident.
Every residence.
Unit, every resident unit.
Every residential unit. Okay. Yeah. Right. Thanks.
Okay, Commissioner Kennedy?
Yeah, a couple of quick things. So just so we're clear on this, tonight, we're not approving the numbers, we're approving the process to approve the numbers. So nothing gets voted on tonight in terms of these numbers. The public should be aware that they are a part of this process here in the next couple of months, and this will actually be completed in September. So tonight, the commission is approving the process, not the numbers themselves. I just want folks
Correct.
listening in to be clear on that.
And we would not be able to go above this number.
Correct.
It could go down, but we feel that this is the right number, so
Yeah.
it can never go above what's being advertised
It's a
now.
not to exceed amount.
Correct.
Okay, and it would kick in fiscal 22, which is October 1 start. So this is an increase per residence, not per person, but per building residence of $15 per month, more or less. Mario, and I hate to put you on the spot, I should have asked you this before, and I forgot to ask you this when we met the other day. During the term of the current contract that we're in, we had a contract with our present solid waste provider, and then it was extended by, going on 2 years now because a previous administration and commission did never do their job. So that's why we're in the situation of having extended, and we experienced some increases along the way. But during the normal term of that contract, how many years was the current contract? Was it for 7 years or 10 years?
I would have to take a look again. I believe it was more of a 5 with 5 additional 1 years.
So it was 5, and then we extended it to get till we got to this point. How many rate increases did residents experience during those 5 years? Do we know?
I'm sorry, I don't have that with me.
Okay, but there have been a couple of increases just to kind of get us through the gap here until we got to the point of getting an RFP out and doing this the right way. So I want folks to know that we've got a late start on this between some commissions and administrations, but we're doing the right thing now. And this will be $15, if we approve this in the fall, this will be $15 per household that starts next October for the new solid waste agreement that we'll be discussing later tonight, assuming it gets passed. Correct?
Correct.
Beautiful. I just want to make that clear to everyone listening in. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Commissioner Samaria, do you have any comments?
Yes, ma'am. Just one comment. As you explained it now, it's only like $15. Are we going to be able to, during this whole process, have more communications, explain it thoroughly to the residents? That's where they understand, because I am a resident and I read this and some of it was confusing, but as other commissioners explained, it's only $15. But I think we need to communicate more with the residents, because I've had a couple of residents that approached me and they read the numbers and the numbers just was too high for them to understand. So if we can I'm not saying do a better job in communicating, but during this whole process, if we can really keep the residents, communicate with them more on this.
So this resolution is to essentially set the cap at what each property would be assessed for solid waste during the property tax, during the budget process.
I understand.
So there is an entire process that we'll still have to go through, but some of this we need to do prior to that budget process because it's required by the county for.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying as we go on with the process, if we can keep the residents more involved to at least to understand what's going on. I mean, I know what the process is tonight, and I think you've done a good job on it.
Absolutely.
I expected it to be more than $15 for units. So I'm happy with that.
I'm sure Mario will keep everybody informed. Is there a motion on that resolution?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make a motion. I'll be happy to make a motion that we accept this resolution.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Resolution 2021-35. Mr. Dion.
Thank you, Mayor. A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, awarding request for proposal RFP number 2021-002 to Great Waste and Recycling Services LLC to provide solid waste and recycling collection and disposal services, authorizing the village manager to negotiate the terms of a franchise agreement and to do all things necessary to effectuate this resolution, providing for an effective date.
Mayor, if I may introduce the item. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry.
No worries.
Is that my dog?
So, commissioners, one of the very first things during our interview process back in October and November, this was one of the main priorities that the commission had for all the candidates, and especially myself once we started in December. It was to take the RFP back out to the market, see what the recently canceled RFP, good, bad, and then how do we move forward? We spoke to the county, we had an industry workshop, and we had a public workshop, and I took all the kind of information together and we put out an RFP process. The very first one that we put out was very strict on some aspects, and it was more geared to everything that the village would want. We had one proposal, and that had to be unfortunately rejected because it didn't meet some of the parameters within the RFP, and I didn't have the latitude to just say, well, it's okay, we'll just accept it. So we put it back out. We communicated after everything was rejected before this RFP went out, we communicated with all the vendors who attended the industry workshop, and we asked them what was it that stopped them from submitting a proposal, or what were the things that you did like. I had a conversation with everybody. We modified some of the areas and we pushed it back out. This time we got 3 submittals. One from Great Waste, who is being recommended as the highest ranked proposer, the Waste Pro, who is the incumbent, and also a new company, which is by the name of AJ Panzarella. Now, in this process, I had a evaluation committee together. That evaluation committee comprised of the construction manager for the city of Doral. He works within the Public Works Department and regularly does RFP evaluations and the process. We also had the CFO from Bay Harbor Island, Peter. I cannot pronounce that last name, so forgive me, Peter. He is the one overseeing the solid waste contract for Bay Harbor's islands now, and they're looking at maybe making some modifications. So he has intimate knowledge of what the contracts, at least for them, look like. And Jose Olivo, who's our public works consultant who represented the village. They all read the proposal prior to meeting via Zoom, and they all scored the proposals individually. All of them said that the companies all were qualified to do the job. And there was only a couple areas where you really start, if you look at the scoring, which you all have the individual score sheets and even the composite score sheets that I provided, the scoring really starts to separate on the cost and the budget in there. And even then, it's not by much. It's essentially in one proposers, it's separated by a point. In the composite, that's where we really see the biggest separations. So Great Waste is the highest ranked with 290 out of a possible 300 points. Waste Pro is 288 out of a possible 300, and AJ Panzarella 260 out of a possible 300. With that, I took the recommendation from the evaluation committee. I looked at everything and I agreed that they were the correct recommendation to bring to you, the commission. As we just mentioned in the prior item, the price is higher, and there's a few different factors as to why that is. One, even though there were some price increases in the last contract, especially in the extension portion, there was an increase. The contract was relatively flat. And so we are seeing prices that reflect current market rates. we're not going to get those old prices from 4 or 5 years ago or anything like that. I've even gone and checked with the county to verify some of the pricing structure for the current incumbent. One aspect that was somebody asked me, and it was an initial question that I had asked for myself as well, is recycling and yard waste is really low. And the business model with this vendor is different. They essentially are charging comparable to the county rate, which the county rate is about $33 a year for recycling. So that kind of helps identify and see why the differences between the three in these areas, and how the recommended vendor was able to submit a pricing structure that was able to kind of carry them over the top through the evaluation. In here, you have a substantial agreement. This has already been sent. This agreement has already been sent to Great Waste. They are reviewing it. We'll start an initial conversation early next week, and we'll discuss it, see if they have anything that they want to talk about at that point. You have all the bids at your disposal in case you wanted to read through those all as well. And you have the individual scoring sheets from each member of the evaluation committee. Also, just wanted to point out, because I think it is an important factor, in my evaluation committees, the way I work at least, is I require each evaluation committee member to sign a conflict of interest form to make sure that there is no conflict or potential bias within their scoring. So they are independent. They've all turned that in, and that's part of your backup as well. I'm available for any questions if you will have for the recommendation. Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry. We do have the gentleman from Great Waste, Willie Hernandez, here as well. And I believe that we may have one or two others in Zoom from some of the other proposals as well, should the commission have any questions.
Thank you, Mario. You've done a fantastic job. Vice Mayor Himmelberg, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I've read it over. I'm very happy to have three professionals give us their opinion, and I will abide by that. That's what they're there for. And I fully recommend that we go ahead with this.
Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez? Any?
I just wanted to say that I've never been involved in a waste RFP before, but I have been involved in a ton of RFPs in my profession, and I've never seen a score that high. So you come in with high expectations, I will tell you that. So we look, we hope to, to work with you, and I hope you live up to that score, my friend.
Thank you. Commissioner Kennedy?
Yeah, a couple of questions. Is my sound back on? Yeah. May we
Yes.
ask questions of the gentleman from Great Waste? You said they're here. I just want to make sure you meant that we could actually ask them a question.
I don't know that they're prepared for anything, but I'm sure that he's more than willing to if the commission will allow it, just to make sure that everybody agrees to it.
I don't have a bunch of questions for. I just wanted to know if there's something we wanted to bring up. Okay, so I have a question, Mario. So Great Waste had the highest ranking by the independent panel, and they also had the lowest price. So they came in with the best score and the best price. So it's kind of like it wasn't a decision you had to make. What's more important, having a great score or a better price? You actually had the benefit of having someone with both. So
Correct. But just for clarification and for transparency purposes, the evaluation committee, the pricing was part of the weighted criteria.
It as well.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay, so you're recommending Great Waste to us, but the scores were so close, and Waste Pro's price was higher. I'm sorry. I'll keep it up here. So the scores were very close, but Waste Pro was a higher price. How much more per month per residence household would it be for the Waste Pro contract? Because we're trying to get better service, good service, better service than maybe we've had. And we're also trying to save some money if we can, not save compared to what we were paying, but based on the other bids.
So in the memo, when you look at the budgetary financial impact, the rate comparison chart shows that the incumbent is approximately $17 more per month than the recommended proposal and is approximately $22.60 higher than the existing contract.
Okay, so we're looking at, we just approved the process to approve a new solid waste fee. That'll be about $15 per household more. If we were to go with this company that covers his charges, if we went with Waste Pro, number 2 on the list, it would be that plus an extra $17 per household is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay, so it would be significantly more. It'd be more than double the increase that we just approved the process of. Okay, I just want everyone to have some clarification on that. That's great. In section 17, it talks about damages. This is really important because this has been an ongoing problem with folks with the waste collection that we've had. We don't want to get them back for extra days for pickup. So I'm hoping we can have some assurance that, I mean, I know you're going to promise us great service, but I just want you to hear from me while we're allowed to talk to you like this, how important this is that we get really good service from your company. This village spends an inordinate amount of time, and time is money, trying to resolve issues with our waste pickup. And it just annoys the hell out of people. It really does. So we're glad that you came in with the best price and you got a great score, but we're really hoping that we get exemplary service from your company as well, because that's important to us. And we are in the position of paying more. So I hope that you can fulfill the promise that you're making to us in terms of giving us great service. So we're really counting on you. If we approve this tonight, we're really counting on you to step up for us. And I hope that's the case.
And Commissioner, if I may, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, on that point, I am reorganizing a little bit of the Public Works department. And so we should have someone who's going to be able to go along with code and be able to verify and create an electronic version to track if there are any liquidated damages. And if missed pickups, for example, there's usually within the RFP, there's a 24 hours where they can come in and kind of correct that measure.
Right.
So we'll be able to better track that, which I know was a problem with our last contract. The village administration wasn't able to kind of follow through on it.
Yeah.
So we will be able to do that. Another good thing is, as indicated in the proposer's bid, they are, I think, 20-30 minutes away from Biscayne Park. So they're more localized, and they should have people living close enough where they can take care of what needs to be taken care of based on their proposal.
And that's great, but we'd like it done right the first time, because we were trying to minimize the return trips through the village. We want you here as little as we need you here to get the job done the first time, so we don't have to schedule you back.
Okay.
To Mario's point, no. To Mario's point, I also saw in the proposal that the driver has an iPad or some kind of a tablet where the driver marks what houses were actually picked up as they worked the routes and which ones did not have their trash out. Did I read that properly? Okay, that's great. So that also helps you because they'll be tracking it as well, and you can cross-reference those two things. In the bid, it also talks about complaints, and this is another a big topic here for residents, that not only were complaints not handled properly or quickly enough, but the process for registering a complaint was cumbersome. So I do see there's a lengthy section about how residents can call in and report complaints, and someone's manning the phone, and 24/7 you can leave a message and all of that good stuff. But it also says that there's the possibility of an app being created in section 18C. You aren't promising that, it doesn't sound in your bid, but do you intend to create that app for us so residents can register their complaints more easily through an app? I guess that's a question for Willie, because it's not promised in the bid, but it does mention, and I don't have it pulled up here, but I guess I could pull it up right here. I don't think his mic is on.
Remember, everybody, we're trying to keep it to the 5-minute rule and not repeating things that we've said already.
I'm not sure what was repeated, but okay, go ahead. There's a delay.
I assume Mario is trying to
Mario's
help.
he's working on it, Ginny.
Right. I'm assuming that. Okay. Meanwhile, Commissioner Samaria, do you want to have any comments?
He's working on it, Jenny.
Right. I'm assuming that. Okay. Okay. Meanwhile, Commissioner Samaria, do you want to have any questions? Right. I'm assuming that. Okay. Okay, how about Commissioner Samaria? You give us. Your
I
comment.
am. He's working on it. I just want to let Commissioner Kennedy finish that last point before we do it. So go ahead, sir. Can't hear. Why don't you come over here?
Could somebody just
Yeah,
get the
hold-
answer from him and
Hold
Mario
on.
maybe just get the answer from
He's
him?
moving to
Madam
Mario's
Mayor,
chair, Ginny. He's giving him
Madam
that.
Mayor, he's going to be speaking at somewhere else.
There you go. There you go.
Yes, good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission, Clerk, Attorney, Honorable Manager. We thank you very much. My name is Willie Hernandez. I'm with Great Waste and Recycling. And to get to Commissioner Kennedy's question as an app, I don't have that information right now, but I will get back to you within the next couple days and find out exactly what the intention was with the app. But I can clearly tell you that Great Waste is we have industry-specific software that tracks our trucks. We have all laptop computers in our trucks. We're GPS. We have cameras that are documenting 24/7 every move of every vehicle that goes through the residences in the community. Looking back, at the end of the day, part of our process is all computerized, and our route supervisors go through and they evaluate every single minute, every single pickup, every single thing that goes on, and then they confirm and close out the report for the day on a daily basis so that we can report back that everything was completed. Additionally, on behalf of Great Waste, we will have a supervisor manning this operation and in detail. And we clearly understand how important that it comes to the quality of service. And the only thing that I can compare it to is the village of Key Biscayne. We were chosen to do the work in the village of Key Biscayne, and today we do all the residential homes in Key Biscayne with nearly a 0 complaint factor. And it's because we communicate with the residents, we communicate with the drivers, and because of our industry-specific software technology that we have on our trucks that you will see in a later date with laptop computers, with GPS, and with cameras on every truck, front and back, recording everything that goes on 24/7 that we will bring to your city. And I'm Commissioner Kennedy, we will get back with you as far as that goes. I hope, does that answer your question?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Can you get back to our manager, please, Mr. Diaz?
Yep,
On those
and I'll distribute that
questions.
to the commission.
So Ginny, if I may, I have a couple of more things here for him to ask Mario real quickly.
Go ahead.
Getting my camera back on. So thank you for getting back to us on that. There's a section in here about spillage, Mario, and it's all written about spillage on private property, and it doesn't talk about spillage on public property. So it's section 21, and it's very clear about how spillage must be handled on private property, but it's not mentioned on public property. I think that needs to be addressed. Right, but I'm talking about the streets.
That's the right of way.
So that gets considered the right of way as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. The carts are going to be labeled at their expense, and I would hope that you're going to get some approval on that, Mario, before that's done, so you'll see exactly how they're being labeled.
Yes,
I
sir.
already communicated with Valerie about the equal opportunity section has some language issues regarding non-discrimination. She's going to take care of that. Yard waste. This is important. We need to talk about yard waste. I'd like to understand, make sure everyone's really clear on how yard waste will be picked up. So we talk about cans for recycling, that we're going to continue to use what we have, a new can for the trash. Yard waste, Mario, does it all have to be in cans? Can some of it be on the ground? Can you clarify that for us, please?
Yard waste continues as it is today, and you have 2 cubic yards, so that does not change. However, as always, it would make it a lot easier and provide for a more consistent service is if the residents can bag or put in bins as much as possible. So if they want to continue to use the existing bins that they have for yard waste instead, that's going to make the pickup a lot easier for it. Anything outside of the 2 cubic yards, based on the computer and everything that that the contractor has stated, will be noted, and then for not being picked up, and then they will work with the resident saying, hey, it's bigger than 2 cubic yards. It's going to require a special pickup, and that's something that they work out with the resident directly. We are kept informed, and so we know what the price is and all that.
Okay.
But it's coordinated between those two, and there will be quarterly, which was in the previous. I don't know the last time the village did anything quarterly, but we have the
That's fine.
option to bring in a quarterly pickup for something larger. So if we want to say spring cleaning 4 times a year or whatever the case, we can give that option and we can work that out. Those dates will be determined at a later time, and we would communicate that with the residents.
But there's also language in here about extra yard pickups that the residents can schedule on their own, correct? It says it's 2 cubic yards every pickup, but they can leave out up to 4 cubic yards. There's a process thing that I'm a little worried about there, to be honest, because I'm afraid what we're going to end up with is 4 cubic yards of trash, yard waste in front of someone's home. And there's the process of requesting it, someone to come look at it, approve it, and then they come get it. It sounds like we could have piles of yard waste out on our swales for a long time before they're picked up. That process sounds like it could be lengthy, and I'm hoping we can figure out a better way to tighten that up. I don't want to see piles of yard waste out there for a week or more, because the residents in communication with Great Waste and the village, and they're going back and forth, and then it's scheduled, and then it's a couple of days before they're back to get it. That's a concern of mine. We're trying to keep trash, all forms of solid waste, off the streets as much as possible.
We will make sure that we communicate the process appropriately with all the residents and ask that they follow the proper procedures so that they can be done. If they know they're going to have more than 2 because new resident, they've decided to change everything up, they can just call that ahead of time and be able to schedule that.
Right.
So we'll make sure that process is in place.
Wonderful. And speaking of communications, this is my last point. There's a communications component in the RFP that the successful bidder or new vendor has communications requirements in terms of communicating directly with residents. And I'm hoping that that plan is put together nice and tightly, because we could have a really sloppy transition here for the first couple of weeks, or who knows, months, while people get used to a different schedule, get used to how yard waste is put out and things like that. It's very important that we communicate all of this to residents, and that we take full advantage and hold Great Waste accountable for the communications component of this agreement.
Okay.
That's my
thank
last
you.
question, and I'm in support of this.
Commissioner Samaria?
Yes, ma'am. Just a couple questions, and then I would like to have hopefully a commitment from this company on certain things. But the first thing I want to ask, City Manager, Ms. Mario, is this tonight we're going to approve a contract, or when is the actual contract going to be coming back to the commission for approval?
You are approving the contract in substantial form for me to finalize and then sign and enter into contract tonight.
I like the fact that we had 3 professional companies that looked at this and made a process. I wasn't sure if this was done in the past when we hired other companies. I don't think it was, or if it was done sloppiness. So I'm happy about that. I like the idea. You asked the question, you already answered it for me in reference to, I would like to have our staff in Public Works, almost like follow them around to see if there's any damage done that they can report. So I like the idea that you said that you were going to do this. Now, as far as commitments, and I'm hoping, everybody says they're going to agree to the commitment, then they never do it. But one of the things is that I hope that the communications between the residents will be good, that you have a good communications with them. You would answer the complaints on fast, with when the residents do file it, because that's one of the problems we had in the past, that they weren't answered as fast as possible. Respect, this might be a small thing, but it's not. Respect residents' property, meaning their cans. It doesn't take that long to, after you take it off the truck, 2 seconds to put it down nice and neatly. There's no reason for the cans to be thrown on the side. And then if we do side on pack, that they are put back where they're supposed to be put. I also hope that you will have, when Waste Pro was originally in the beginning, they had a supervisor that followed the truck around and was able to answer questions if a resident happened to stop them. I hope that you will continue that. They did that for a while, and then all of a sudden they stopped. I hope you will. I hope that you would treat Biscayne Park the same way you treat other cities. I believe that the last company we had did not do that. Was it intentional? I don't know. But they didn't treat us as the same way they treated North Miami and other cities. I hope that you will treat us with the same respect that you give with all the other ones. Again, these are commitments, and I as a commissioner, and I believe all the other commissioners, and I believe the residents are going to hold you accountable. I don't mind, with the price that you're charging. And like I said, I'm for this, but I agreed with the wasteful high in the beginning. And so I just want to be sure that you answer the residents and have that community respect for the residents. And if they happen to stop, you take a couple seconds and answer them. I'm not saying, you have to go into a long conversation, but I think you need to listen to what the residents have to say. Again, I support this.
Thank you, Commissioner Samaria. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve, to award Resolution 2021-35, awarding solid waste RFP 2000. I'm sorry, I read the wrong one. Sorry about that. This is the ordinance, right? Yeah, this is.
The resolution.
2021-35.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I was reading the right one. Okay, thank you. Resolution 2021-35, awarding solid waste RFP -002-2021.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Please try to keep under the 5-minute rule and don't repeat things that have been said already. Mr. Dion, would you like to do 2021-06?
Do we need public comment first?
We'll read it first. An ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, granting an exclusive franchise for solid waste collection services to Great Waste and Recycling Services, LLC, providing the village manager the authority to do all things necessary to effectuate the ordinance, repealing all ordinance inconsistent with this ordinance, providing for severability, providing for effective date. This is first reading. We're going to schedule a special meeting before the end of June so that we can have second reading of this ordinance. So it'll be in place by July 1 when they take over.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion.
No, there's no motion yet.
Yes,
We'd
there
like
is.
public comments.
Public comment.
Public comments, okay.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment? We have Bob Anderson's hand. I see that.
Bobby Anderson? Bobby Anderson?
Yes, thank you. I'm glad this commission is finally moving forward to solve our waste problems. And looking at the scores and at the meeting where the scores were taken, I It was a Zoom meeting, so I was part of the public watching what was going on. I think they did a great job, and I believe this is the best company to go ahead and try. Because we've only had one commercial company since before we were privatized before. And obviously, things didn't work out like most of the residents thought that they would. And it'd be interesting to see, now we would be able to have a second company to be able to compare to the first company as the time goes on. And I'm sure this company will do so much better than the first company. And thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Roseanne, I don't see anybody's.
I don't see anybody raising a hand, Mayor.
Okay, we'll close public comments and we'll open it up to the commissioners for comments
Do I have
or
to make amendments
discussion.
first? You have to read, have to make them,
Commissioner Samaria, do you want to start?
well, no. No, I just wanted to make a motion on that. Like I said, I made all my statements. I think this is the right company. I do have concerns because everybody says that they're going to do something. And to me, it's going to be action speaks louder than words. And that's what I'm going to base everything on, is that I'm going to hold this company accountable along with the rest of my commissioners, I believe will. I think this is the best choice we have right now. And I think hopefully this will be a long lasting relationship.
Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez, do you have any comments or discussion on this? Okay, Vice Mayor Himmelberg.
Yeah, I'm really happy that we've got somebody new in our waste arena. I am all excited about this. I am looking at it with a very positive attitude, and hopefully we don't have to worry about all the problem solving of all the problems if they get things right at the start. And it will be a very positive experience for all of us. And I have no problem with paying a little bit more. Costs of everything go up and the cost of this goes up. And sometimes you get a little bit more if you pay a little bit more. And I am all on board with the change. I am, yes, excited.
Thank you. Commissioner Kennedy?
Well, we've already approved the company. This is merely about agreeing to giving them the franchise agreement, which I support.
Okay, can we make a motion on that?
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-6, granting franchise to Great Waste and Recycling Service, LLC, first reading.
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
I'll second the motion.
No, Matt, because Commissioner Kennedy seconded.
Okay. Roseanne, can you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Mayor Harvey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Himmelberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
That's a yes.
Commissioner Samaria.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0. As the village attorney mentioned, we need to.
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, one interruption. If we can, before we move on from the item, I'd like to see with the commission schedule, if you are all available either June 22nd or June 24th, or sometime that week, so that we can have the second reading and we can advertise that accordingly.
Yes, that was what Roseanne
It
was
would be-
bringing up.
Gonna be Tuesday, June 22nd or Thursday, June 24th.
I'm still out of town, so
okay with
I'll
both
be
of
there
them.
by Zoom.
And it'll be the same time it is tonight, 6 o'clock.
We can
Is
do.
the 22nd good for everybody?
Yes, I have no problem with the 22nd at 6 o'clock.
Okay. Is that-
Are you okay with the time for advertising? Yeah.
Thank you.
The only issue is making sure that we have notice published 10 days before the hearing.
We will have the sufficient time for it. Thank you, Commission. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda,
I'm sorry. Did you say it has to be out 10 days before, has to be publicly noticed? Oh, publicly, not advertised. It's just publicly noticed.
Right.
Advertised. Well, that's 12 days from now. So are we going to make that? Okay. Can you? Okay. Or
Yeah,
should we take the 24th just to be safe? Okay.
Yeah.
okay, that seems to be no problem. The next item on the agenda is the evaluation of our village manager. I would like to first read my evaluation before we proceed with the others. When I first met Mario during the interview, I thought he had great energy and professionalism. We all hoped that he would be able to move the village forward on some of the issues we faced. He brought to the commission, just a second, let me just put the light on because I can't really see. I don't know what happened to that. Okay. We had hoped that he would be able to move the village forward on some of the issues we faced. He brought to the commission 6 priorities that we felt were important: FEMA reimbursement, CITT audit, solid waste contract, and 6th Avenue project, budgeting and communications. On top of these priorities, he has had to deal with staffing issues, litigations from previous administrations, and various other things that have come up. I think he has done a wonderful job in guiding our community. He works very hard to make sure we are addressing priorities and that the things are done the right way. He fights for our community even when he has received disparaging comments for things that occurred years before his time. He keeps this commission up to date on all important items. Mario has my full support. Any other comments? Vice Mayor Hammelberg?
Yeah, in response to Bob Anderson's comment, I did a 7-page evaluation rating him, which is at City Hall. I will not read it all, nor will I bore everybody with it. If you want it, I guess you can get it from public records request. Basically, my narrative of the evaluation is this. As an active community member, I was fully aware in November when I ran for office of what I was getting into and the troubles that we were having fiscally, the antics that were going on at our commission meetings, which were not always nice to the residents and to the other commissioners. And I knew what were my goals and what I had to deal with. As an outsider applying for a job, there's no way Mario had any knowledge of what he was getting into. Yet he acted in a calm, graceful, methodical manner to address our issues using resources and information from prior job contacts to help us address our issues one by one, keeping in mind both the necessary priorities, long-term and short-term. I think Mario acted in a very professional manner in Village Hall, positively affecting our employees and giving staff direction and support. I think Mario acted in a calm and soothing manner at our meetings to diffuse some of the hysteria and nastiness which had become a hallmark of our commission meetings. That said, I do understand that everything in government takes time and that there are no quick fixes. I thank you for taking on the challenge of the Village of Biscayne Park. I love our little village and I think you are an amazing asset to it. We don't always agree on things, but that's part of what life is all about, hearing opinions that don't agree with yours. But you deal with things civilly, regardless of whether we totally agree or we don't totally agree. And I have all my support behind you. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we didn't have a real process here, so we were kind of all individually tasked with our assessment of our current manager. Basically, I did a two-prong way of handling this. Mario and I meet or speak at least once a week, sometimes more than that. So I'm very well aware of everything that's happening in the village and the things that he's doing to address multitude of issues. Him and I sat the other day and we went over the top 6 priorities that we had. I'm sorry, there were 5. There were top 5 priorities that we had tasked him with initially when we met and discussed this. And it's funny because he himself said that one of the things that he needs to continue to work on is the communications piece. And I think Janie Anderson mentioned that tonight. So he recognizes that. He also recognizes that that he needs some help in that sphere because he's tasked with a lot. So we met, we went over those top 5 things and we discussed them in detail. And then I went and I did my own assessment on him and basically on 10 different categories. And those categories were assisting council with his policymaking role, providing advice, internal administration, personnel management, getting the job done, external relations, intergovernmental relationships and personal characteristics, communications, and management style. So based on all of that, from a rating of 1 to 5, and we after I scored him on everything, I gave him a 4.6. So obviously Mario, in my humble opinion, is doing a fantastic job in a very difficult, he came into a very difficult situation in this village. And I think that those that have been involved with this village know what he walked into when he came here. So I'm very proud of what he's done. I know that he's going to continue to improve. So I'm hoping that at the next evaluation, I'm able to give him a 5.
Thank you. Commissioner Kennedy?
Thanks, Jim. So I met with Mario a couple of days ago and we did his full evaluation in person. Because we never agreed to a format that we would use, that we would be consistent, each of us did our own thing. And when I discussed the idea of us all agreeing on one format a couple of months ago, I had added 2 different formats to the agenda item. To do my evaluation, I combined those 2 together, changed them a little bit to suit my liking, added some things in there because I got to do it my own way. Before I discuss my evaluation of Mario, I do want to repeat that I think it's most appropriate that we evaluate him in a consistent way. And this is my opinion, that we have one employee to evaluate, and it's the village manager. And I hope that for his future evaluations, this commission can agree that we will use one format. So we're all grading him consistently. I don't think it's fair to Mario for each of us to be doing an evaluation in a different way. I think it's
Commissioner Kennedy, excuse me, but that was voted on prior, so that continue, but that was voted on already on how we would evaluate Mario.
What's your point?
That we already voted on that. That's my point. We voted to do our own evaluations.
I understand that. I'm talking about, I'm saying that I hope in the future, you might have missed the future part of my comment, Jenny. I hope that his next evaluation and evaluations in years to follow, that we can agree to a standard format that we would all use. So let me continue here. So I put together my own format. I combined these 2 things together, a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best. My full evaluation is on the village calendar as a backup, so anybody who wants to read it in detail certainly can. I'm not going to go through it nearly in detail now. And I've also given a copy to Mario that we both signed, and he'll be adding it to his personnel file. So I'm going to touch on a couple of things here. And the same, I think, Art, you and I probably used about the same 10 categories. It sounds like you may have also used the same thing as a guide. When I did my scoring of Mario overall, I came up with an average score of 4.1, which is above average and in the very, very good range. And I gave him quite a glowing evaluation when we met in person. So a couple of things I want to talk about. One of the questions on the form that I used was identifying Mario's strengths. As a manager myself at the company I work for, the three intangibles that I look for in any employee are work ethic, a sense of ownership for the position, and genuinely caring about the organization's success. Other things can be taught to an employee, but those three things I have learned are ingrained in someone. And every organization should recognize them in a candidate and nurture them in an employee. In my opinion, Mario has brought all three of these: a sense of ownership for his job, a very strong work ethic, and genuinely caring for this community. Mario has brought all three to this position, and he continues to demonstrate them. This will serve the village very well in the long term. I rank Mario as exceptional in these three areas that I consider to be most important during his first 6 months. And I personally determine these things to be critical in his and our mutual success. To get to some nuts and bolts, even during the interview phase when we were first meeting Mario, he demonstrated a desire and ability to understand the goals of the village as he had heard us discuss them, and outstanding action items that were lingering here. Upon hiring, he very quickly created a short list of our most immediate needs. We had a discussion about them at a meeting, and he set to work in getting them done for us. In his first 6 months, Mario accomplished most of those goals in whole or in significant part, to his credit as our CEO during a very busy transition, while also juggling the day-to-day business of the village and other items as they came up during a very hectic COVID pandemic. I'm exceptionally pleased with Mario's big picture ability and also how he tackled that short list and made significant strides. The short list is included in my evaluation. If anyone wants to read my opinions on how he managed them, you can pull that up and read it for yourself. Another question on the form is, what areas would I identify as most critical for improvement for Mario? And here I gave lower scores on the area of communication. Communication has been and remains the most significant weakness in this community, both internally and outwardly to residents. Hence, communications, in my opinion, is Mario's most critical area for improvement. Increasing the quantity and, more importantly, the quality of communications at all levels with the commission, staff, vendors, and residents, and being proactive in those communications rather than reactive will minimize so many other challenges in Biscayne Park. Additionally, Mario and the village need a plan to execute. Mario developed a short list. He came out swinging. He took some big swings at a short list of items that we needed him to, and he excelled at getting those things done for us. But now it's time for us to put a plan together for our future, for our long-term future. That starts with a vision of what we want to be as a community, guiding principles to steer us in that direction. And from the vision and principles will come a plan to execute. And I hope that Mario can put that together for us in the future.
Thank you.
I'm not quite done, Jenny. Other comments that I have for the manager. I'd like goals and a plan for this is an immediate thing that Mario and I discussed. I would like to see goals and a plan for the remaining 3 months of fiscal 21. Mario's gotten us through his first 6 months. Now we're looking at 3 months before the end of this fiscal year, which includes a budget season, which will be Mario's first budget to put together for us. That budget will obviously be a main focus this summer, in addition to other items in progress like drains, the solid waste transition that we just approved, his new public works manager, and other tasks. I would like to see a 3-month plan to get us through the end of the year. Additionally, in the next 3 months, before we start our new fiscal year that starts October 1, I would like goals for fiscal 22 to be presented to us by Mario so we can agree on everything, so we can get out of the gate running on a new fiscal year. Having a plan for fiscal 2022 finalized will also enable Mario to report back more cohesively which I would prefer on some kind of a master document that Mario and I have discussed. To sum this up, I wholeheartedly endorse Mario Diaz's continued employment as the village manager for Biscayne Park. I look forward to his further development during my tenure as a commissioner, and as long as the village and Mario agree that he's the best manager for Biscayne Park. So Mario, congratulations on a very successful first 6 months at our helm, and cheers to your long-term success in our position. I'm very pleased with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Samaria?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe that our valuation is based upon government and different from privately. I think the valuation should be done privately, which each of the commissioners have done, and then present to the commission on what we evaluate the person at, and for the public. I have met at least once a week with this city manager. And I think he's offered I can't speak for the rest of the commissioners, but no, Mr. City Manager, I believe he's offered the same thing to the other commissioners, that you can meet with him anytime. He didn't have a specific time. And he's always kept me informed of exactly what he's doing. My evaluation is based on 3 items. 1, goals that the manager and commission suggestions that he made. 2, did he accomplish those goals? And if not, why hasn't he accomplished? To explain his answers on why he hasn't done it. And what goals that he has done that we haven't, initiative that he has taken to do stuff that we haven't suggested or he hasn't set up to do. What are items in the future that he has already done extra? I will not base mine on a score. I believe in evaluating him and not trying to set him up with a score, because what is a score? What determines if he fails or not? I said that at the last commission. He gave 5 items: FEMA, solid waste, and I just want to give a couple minutes of on this item, each of them. The FEMA reimbursement, the village in 2000 was able to collect $674,470.12 of a possible $937,308.30. Working with FEMA, the city manager was able to work with them to get the balance and get the documentation that they requested. Before closing with FEMA, he reached out with the Miami-Dade County to see if they would provide additional paperwork that would bring the village the remaining $262,830. Solid waste contract. Well, he's had many meetings with the solid waste. He had a virtual town hall on solid waste, compare his visual options with private company. I think he proved that tonight, so I don't really have to go into that. He proved on what he did with the solid waste contract. With FDL, Northeast 6th Avenue, he enlisted the assistance of the CGA to review the project. He held a virtual town meeting hall with the residents, and I think that was successful. He's still working on anything else that he needs to do with the FDL, but I think he accomplished that goal. His communications, he agrees that he needs to do better with communications, but he had 3 virtual town hall meetings on solid waste, FDLT, hurricane season, 1 meet and greet freebie, and the budget.
Commissioner Samaria, excuse me, you're going over things that have been said a few times tonight. So kind of wrap it up, please.
It's kind of, I get the last person to speak, so I almost don't, there's nothing really that I need to discuss, because if everybody else covers with the evaluation, I'm the last one.
If I can say something here, this is Mario's initial evaluation. The man's been working for us for 6 months, and if Dan's not done with his evaluation, I think we give Dan the time that he needs to complete it. Jenny, it's only 7:24. This is our village manager's initial evaluation. Let's let the commissioner finish, please.
I thank you, Commissioner Kennedy. I know this is a lot of stuff that we went over, but I think that we need to bring it out even more. If it's already repeated, I wanted to be sure that it is repeated a second time, that the residents are listening. His communications, like I said, there's a lot that he's always open to do better in communications. So I'm always CITT. 2 audits were finalized in the village. Administrative process in place to make it sure that CIT receives the proper reports on time. We are moving forward with the pre-approval expectation requested by CIT. So he seems to be with the CITT. He worked hard to be on it, and he's going to be sure that, I believe, we'll not have the problems that we have in past were audits that were not done correctly. Strategic budget planning, I think we had a workshop on that. He did a good job, and I hope we will have more of those in the future. And then some of the items that he has done that was not part of it, and I'm not going to go into it. I'm just going to say that the bullet points: the debris removal contract, building department reorganization, public works reorganization, public's vision for land development code, the log cabin improvements, village health plan, various code and building issues, village ERP software, and the village grant. If you want any of this, I can break it, as Commissioner Kennedy says, you can get the information if you decide you want to do a freedom information request. I support this city manager, and I'm really excited to see what he would accomplish in the next 6 months for his next evaluation. So I do support him. I will not give a score because I believe that government employees don't get based upon score. They just get based upon what they accomplished. So
Thank
again,
you, Commissioner
thank you.
Samaria. Can we have a motion now for recommendation for continuance of Mario's employment?
We don't, do we need a motion? I don't think we need a motion, Mayor. But if I may say just a few words, and I promise not to take long. Thank you. I am I am honored to be here working for you all and this community. Staff, as soon as I started, has welcomed me with open arms, as you all have, and has many of the residents. To me, I will never be able to fully explain or verbalize the sentiment and what that means to me as a person. Thank you is probably the best that I'll be able to do. I recognize that there is a lot of room for growth still, not only personally, but to improve the administration and the process for this village. I look forward to continue to serve you and the residents of Biscayne Park while bringing strong ethics and transparency to our government. I would not be here as successful, or you having such positive comments, if not for my staff. And I wanted to take a moment to recognize them. Roseanne, going above and beyond when it comes to FEMA. Chief, he is my therapist sometimes. He takes me around the village and we do drive-throughs. And so he lets me talk out ideas and problems and frustrations, and he lends that open ear. And for John and the crews at Public Work, for SB, for Lizzie, for our code officers, for Linda volunteering and helping us administratively where we need them, for Nylam, for every single one of our employees, Isa over at the park. I am nothing without their support. They have really taken the ownership to make sure that we are trending in the right direction, and I greatly appreciate their efforts for that. And that is all. Thank you all for this opportunity, and I will continue to work for you all.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I would really like to make a motion to increase Mario Diaz's salary to the $100,000 that we have in the budget. It is most embarrassing when people ask what different people get paid, and that I have to say what he gets paid. It's embarrassing because nobody in this county makes as little as he does. So I would like to make the motion to increase his salary to $100,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes.
I would like to hear Mario's comment, Mario's point on that.
Okay, sure. I would definitely appreciate it. One of the aspects that I know that I while taking on this opportunity, because of the limited resources that we have and the amount of employees that we have, some of the areas of concerning long term is is the total compensation package that we have. The average salary for a village manager is way above where we are now, with regards to compensation. I'm kind of at a loss for words, excuse me. One of the concerns that I do have is with regards to the health insurance, more importantly. And I would appreciate if we're able to find something, whether it's a salary increase or something else, so that we can help with that. For a family, you all saw recently what those are. It's an additional $12,000 for insurance that I'm paying. My overall take-home compensation is less than my previous employment, where there was less responsibility. So if the commission is willing to, I will more than gladly accept any type of partial compensation. If we want to hold this off until the budget conversation, I'm more than willing to do that as well. But thank you, Mayor, for thinking of me and for trying to take care of me. I greatly appreciate that.
Is there any other discussion on the menu, on the
Yeah,
motion?
I just have a question, because Mario and I spoke about this, and the question to Mario is, what would be better for you? Would it be a compensation on the side of taking care of, some of the health insurance costs, or this increase? Because at the end of the day, whatever we do, we want to do it to make your life better. So what is better for you?
Tax benefit for one.
Yeah, I think some of the concern would be, although taking care of part of the health benefit itself would be more beneficial in the long run for me. I think some of the concern is how does that impact the rest of staff? And although it's traditional to have executive employees receive different benefits than other tier employees, that's normal. I'm open to whatever the commission feels comfortable with in this regards, whether it's just increasing the salary or doing something with regards to the health benefit. I'm wide open. I'm just thankful that you're even considering it.
Is there any other discussion on the motion?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead,
I-
sorry.
Okay, I think this issue of family benefits is something we need to take up. We have only a few employees who have to deal with it. As a private practitioner, I have been paying almost $12,000 a year for my own health insurance. So I understand how hard that hurts. I am jumping for joy that I will be getting Medicare because my health care benefits are going sky high and my costs are going way down. And I think we need to think about providing for our employees that don't have options under other family members' plans to cover their, not fully, but at least 50%.
Is there any other discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. So first of all, I just gave Mario a rather glowing recommendation, and I'm happy to have a conversation about doing something for him. I'm not certain I'm comfortable with giving him a 5% pay increase on his 6-month anniversary. He came out of the gate and did a great job for us, but he is only 6 months into the job, and we anticipate getting really good things from him in the future. I'd be very happy to have a discussion about doing something for him. I'm just not certain a 5% pay increase is appropriate right now. He has I'd like to see him, continue to perform at this level. And certainly there are tax benefits to helping someone on the side of benefits rather than salary. So giving someone a $5,000 raise sounds good until he starts paying taxes on it, Ginny, and then there's really not much left for him. So I would support. I'd be happy to have a conversation about doing something for him to help him with the family plan of his insurance policy, but I'm not comfortable giving him a $5,000 raise or paying the full balance of his family plan. I think it would be a very nice gesture for this village and appropriate at this point, given the fact that he just got basically a glowing recommendation unanimously from all 5 of us, doing something for him, perhaps paying half of the balance of his family plan the difference in his family plan. So we contribute half of what he's kicking in. So Mario, what would that be? About $2,500 if we did that?
Based on the new insurance rate, for this fiscal year, it'd be about 1,500 because it comes out to about
Okay.
497
Month
per paycheck.
per paycheck.
No, per
So
paycheck. So
497 times 26. So it's 13 grand.
for the year, essentially, yes. I think, no, I'm sorry. If I'm doing 497,
For 26 pay periods here in the village? 26. 497 times 26 is 13 grand. So you're telling us that your
Yep.
insurance is 13 grand a year. And how much is the village paying of that, Roseanne?
None.
We're paying
None.
We're saying
None.
paying some portion of his.
Not the family.
So of the, on a monthly basis, the village for all employees pays $582.
Okay.
And so doing basic 497 times 2, because there's typically 2 paychecks per month. Some are 3, but it's essentially 2. Comes out to about almost 1,000, which comes out to about $12,000 on the year. So half of that, I think it comes down just below 12. So I think it's like 5,900 something.
Right. That's the difference. That's what that's okay. I would be, if you guys want to discuss doing something for Mario, I'd rather it be on the health insurance side than the salary side. And I don't think we should be paying all of it. The Mario accepted a position knowing what the salary was, what the responsibilities were, what the benefits were. He knew going into it what it was, and he knew he was going to prove himself and hope to do better in the future. He's proved himself. Let's do better for him now. And in a couple of months, remember, our charter or his contract, I don't know, one or both of them, require that we do his evaluation before the close of every fiscal year. We will be evaluating Mario again in September. We don't wait another 6 months to evaluate Mario. This was his 6-month evaluation. We have another one that we've got to do in 3 months. That's per his contract, Ed, or the charter, or both? Contract, certainly. Okay, so we have to do an evaluation for him in September. We have another opportunity to do something for Mario then, which will align with our new budget year, and we would have budgeted for it. So I'm in support of, I don't want to put a number out there. If somebody wants to join me in this conversation, I'll be happy to. It's odd to kind of barter this thing here and live in a meeting, but it's how it has to be done. But that's where I stand. No salary increase, help him with benefits, a portion of it now as a gesture of good faith and to thank him for a job well done, knowing in 3 months we're going to do this again.
Commissioner Samari, do you have any comments on the motion that's on the floor?
Yeah, I just think at this time, it's a 6-month evaluation that he's done. I'm hearing all other commissioners and I'm in support with basically what the commission is saying, but I think that I would like to wait until his next evaluation, which is the one that's coming in 3 months, to discuss this. My only concern is, and I hope he doesn't get offended by this, but that it opens up a bag of worms. If we're going to do this for the city manager, as far as the benefits for medical, are we going to do this for all the other employees? What's stopping an employee that has a wife and kid and decide, well, if you're giving it to the city manager, I'm going to want the same thing. I'm not saying that I'm not going to want to do that, but I just think that I wasn't prepared to discuss this tonight about it. I was waiting till we have the next evaluation to really discuss this. And I had the conversation with the city manager about, he had no problem waiting until and he already said it, until the next evaluation. So I'm glad to see that the commission is in supporting of him, of this. But I think that today is not the right time for this.
Okay, I'd like to call the motion to have a vote. Remember, our budget does say $100,000 a year.
Can you
Roseanne,
restate
would
the
you
motion,
call?
please?
Excuse me?
Would you restate the motion, please?
Yes,
Just so
I'd
we're all
like
clear
to.
on what we're voting on.
I'd like to make a motion that we increase Mario Diaz's salary to $100,000,
Tonight?
which is in the budget that we passed this year. And it was seconded by Judy Himmelberg.
Mayor, can you state if it's effective? when?
Immediately.
Immediately.
No, I can't. Not now. I just said no.
No, we can. We could, Dan. If we voted on it, we could. We're going to vote on it now. Okay, how do we vote? Roll call or?
It's a roll call.
Judy seconded it.
Sorry. Mayor Hopper,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Himmelberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
No.
Commissioner Kennedy,
No.
Commissioner Samara,
At this time, no. But I definitely want to look at it for when his next evaluation come, and then my vote will be
Can you
changed
call
for
it
that.
so I can make a motion, please? I'd like to make a motion
Mhm.
that we, in lieu of a salary increase, that we increase the village's contribution to Mario's health insurance plan
Mhm.
in the amount of $1,500 through the end of this fiscal year, September 30th. So extrapolate it out for the next 3 months. And we can address a new compensation package for Mario in September when we do his one-year evaluation. $1,500.
A month, right?
Is there a second to that motion?
It's 1,500 a month.
Is it
It's 1,500 for 3 months.
1,500 for 3 months?
One of.
What?
Is there a second to Commissioner Kennedy's motion?
Second, so we can discuss it.
Okay, now you can discuss it, go ahead.
Unmute. Sorry.
What is your current, what are you currently paying for your health insurance for your family? What is coming out of your pocket on a monthly basis? The city's covering a little bit. What is coming out of your pocket?
Per paycheck.
Per paycheck is $500 basically per paycheck.
So it's $1,000, 1,000. So, and we have, how many more pay periods?
3.
We
3
have
months.
No. Yeah,
3 months.
3 months worth.
3 months. So basically that $1,500 would cover half of your, okay. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Are you going to second the motion?
I did, sorry, you didn't hear me, but I did second.
I didn't hear you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Concern that I have.
Dan, you're muted.
Sorry. One of the concerns that I do have, I mean, I'm in support of giving, him this kind of money, but like I said, I really want to wait until his next evaluation. My concern is how many other employees does this affect?
1.
It doesn't affect anybody.
Doesn't affect anyone? Is there anyone in administration that could turn around and say that they would want the same option that you're getting?
Well,
I wouldn't know. Everybody except for one other employee, it only has the employee benefit, which is 100% covered by the village. For the most part, all the other employees, their spouses or their family are either on the spouse's insurance or they have some other type of arrangement. They haven't come and brought anybody up into our insurance.
I think that our manager is separate anyway on any contracts or agreements that we do for him. Roseanne, do you want to call the roll?
Since I made a statement that I basically didn't want to do any of this into his before the budget, I can't support this if I'm saying that I want to wait for the 6 months.
Okay, then you'll vote that way.
But wait,
No.
may I say something?
Yeah, please.
But you said you couldn't support an increase, right? For him personally. What we're doing is we're providing him some relief from having to pay $1,000 a month for his health insurance. So it's
For his children.
right for his kids, right? So it's part of a benefits package. It's not really, it's not, you're helping him and his family, but we're not giving him a person. It's not, we're giving him an increase on his financial side.
But are we doing this for the other employees?
When he just told you, there's no other employee.
It doesn't affect anybody else.
And he's an executive, so executives have different agreements than standard employees.
And if I may, since it was my motion, Dan, it's also, it's a gesture. And it really is not very, it's $1,500 across three, it's $500 a month. And it's a gesture. We just gave him a 6-month evaluation, a rather glowing review, and it shows that we have an appreciation for what he's done and we have confidence in his future here. And we'll talk to him again in 3 months. So in 3
So
months.
this is
then when
just,
it's
this
budget
is
time-
just for the
just
next.
for the
week.
next 3 months and
Okay,
it's done.
okay,
Yeah.
I,
And
then,
then it's done.
no, okay, then I have no problem with supporting that for the next 3 months.
Roseanne, do you want to call the roll, please? Commissioner Kennedy's motion to,
Let me understand, it's in lieu of salary increase, it's to give $1,500 for 3 months to help with the health insurance contribution for the dependents.
but it's not a salary increase that you mentioned.
$500 a month.
$500 a month towards his family
Health.
insurance plan,
Is-
health insurance plan. Total
And
of
that was seconded
$1,500
by-
through September 30th.
That was seconded by Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes. Okay, Mayor Hawking,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hemmelberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
100% yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
It's a yes, and we'll see you in 3 months and we'll talk about some more for you when you continue to knock it out of the park for us.
Commissioner Samaria,
That's a yes, and especially when I believe, knowing him, that he will continue his improvements. So I think we can definitely come back for the budget season and really talk about it. So I have no problem supporting this for right now. And I believe that he'll do a better job as we go on. So we could talk more about, giving him more money later on. But I
Is
support
there-
this, yes. Yes.
Okay, motion's passed.
5-0.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded, I'll second
I'll
it.
second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Good night.
Bye-bye.
Oh.
You're very welcome.